No murder.
I'm going to morb, then I
What?
morb all over the place.
No! Don't morb.
But can I morph?
Like a Power Ranger?
Like Morpheus.
No!
Then I morphed all over the place.
Don't do that to him. Don't do that to Lawrence Fishburne. Because in one life, you will pay your taxes. You have your neighbor carry out the garbage. Garbage. Oh, Hugo Weaving's weird American accent. Where would I be without you?
Let him have
It's kind of iconic. Anyway, it probably isn't clear. So I'm about to say, if it isn't clear, yeah, we're gonna talk about The Matrix today. Happy Pride Month, everybody.
Happy
I hope
Pride.
everyone's having, like, a safe Pride, no matter how you're celebrating this year.
Safe. Wear a mask. Use condoms.
Yes, wear a mask. Look at me, Westerners. You should be wearing masks.
Wearing
Still,
masks.
get yourself checked out and take care of each other, basically.
Yes.
Pride is also about community and looking out for each other.
And
All right.
also wearing latex.
Just like in The Matrix.
Just like in the... Exactly.
A lot of latex, a lot of pleather.
Not very sustainable.
Honestly, I don't know if they still have the costumes. I think they probably disintegrated by now. Unless they were, like, preserved somewhere.
For, like, museum
That I'm
exhibits.
that I'm just not aware of. Which is strange that I wouldn't be aware of it.
Of course.
Seems like a failing on my part.
I feel like you're the type of person to have, like, Google alerts of the Matrix. So
No, I don't. Number one, I don't know how to do that.
Oh, you don't know how to set up Google alerts.
What is a Google alert? I don't know how to do that.
You've watched The Glass Onion.
Yeah, but, like, I have seen Glass Onion. I know it's a thing. I don't know how to do it on my phone.
I can teach you. It's okay.
I love how one of my favorite movies, me, a very tech illiterate person, is very tech heavy.
I don't know about that, but it definitely is very, like, sci-fi tech oriented.
Yeah, I thought you were saying you don't know if I'm not tech illiterate or not. I'm like, we have a lot of proof.
No, it's the I'm more questioning the tech savviness of the Matrix in general, which it sure is something.
If you didn't already know, The Matrix is a 1999 movie directed by the Wachowski sisters. It's Pride Month, no transphobia. I mean, no transphobia any time of the year. But
Really?
especially this month. Everyone who's conservative, you are not red pills.
Oh.
Okay? Y'all are the fucking agents.
What's your take on that? Like, the internet absorption of the Matrix, like, terminology, wherein Redditors have just, like, kind of, like, absorbed the term red pill, blue pill.
I guess that's because Morpheus says it's if you want to know the truth, and a lot of people on Reddit are like, I know the truth. But it's so strange whenever they take it out of the context of the movie, because I'm like, no, you are the kind of person that the people in the movie are fighting. And I'm just like, it's a really strange what parts of the movie get passed around on the internet, and what kind of, like, stays underground, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I can't imagine how people receive the film without the queer context or the queer rating in it.
Or even just, like, the kind of anarchist / leftist messages. Like, I don't know how you look at The Matrix, which is essentially about a group of humans breaking from the hold from this giant corporate entity of machines, and let's be real, in 1999 Matrix, white men in suits who are anonymous and track your every move. They saw that and they were like, yeah, no, we're the good guys. We are Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus. We're not the agents. We're not Smith. What are you talking about? We're not Cypher. We're not eating the steak. It pisses me off every time I have to, like, see one of my favorite movies, like, conservatives being like, I'm Neo, I'm Trinity. Bitch, who? Well, what happened in the train sequence? He just said his name is Neo.
Neo.
It's crazy.
Neo pronouns.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Mr. Neo, last name pronouns.
Real? Actually real. Oh my goodness. So
Oh
we've
my
cracked
God.
the code.
And also, there's that whole thing about in the 90s, apparently estrogen was the red pill. I remember, I think, reading somewhere that the Wachowskis, that set was a queer club, like a queer BDSM club that was
remember you
open
telling
for a
me this
while.
while we were
Yes.
watching.
Okay, yeah, we were watching The Matrix, and I was trying to be quiet, because I didn't want to, like, talk over the movie, but I still did anyway. And then when we were watching the second movie, Matrix Resurrections, I went, okay, I'm gonna keep quiet. And then SJ just went, I can feel you holding back your little factoids.
Little factoids.
On the other end of the line. I mean, I did have factoids. I bought the Blu-ray that had all the documentaries and stuff. Shut
You had the director's commentary, just like
Yes,
etched
I
into your
did.
brain.
Yes, I did. I had the director's commentary, I had the making of, the props masters, and
Yeah,
all
the script
that.
book.
The script book does not exist!
Oh, it doesn't yet.
I would love for there to be a script book of
You can
my
make
favorite
your
movies.
own. Do it like a
I
zine
know I
thing.
can. What was your, like, take when you first watched The Matrix the other day?
I mean, generally coming into it, I didn't really expect much of it because it's like, you know, I remember Buttons saying something about this, like, Buttons, our friend, hasn't really watched Into the Spider-Verse until like a few weeks ago before she was about to watch Across the Spider-Verse, in the cinema. So I feel like that's my take on what The Matrix is to me, because like it's such like a cultural zeitgeist to the point that like everyone I know has like referenced and or watched the film. It's like if you the only way you can avoid references to The Matrix is if you don't consume media in general.
That's true.
Literally, like while we were watching it, like there were actual scenes from it where I was like, "Hey, they did that in this movie."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many like callbacks to different movies.
Yeah.
The flying kick Trinity does in the opening scene. It's in Shrek.
Yeah.
Fiona does it in Shrek.
Yeah. It's like, what's the word? Like I read about this. I can't not bring it up. So,
oh my God.
So in my final for my intro to IT class, one of my tasks was to like kind of like define, I guess, cybercrime. Well, not cybercrime, like ethics in technology and science and technology, or whatever the fuck. But like they had a special interest in specifically like information technology. So I had to look up like piracy issues, and like there were a couple of articles, you know, as always, piracy is illegal, TM. That's which it is definitely illegal, but
it is definitely illegal, but nowadays it seems like it's the only way to keep media that you loved in its unchanged format.
And it's
thank you, streamers.
It's literally so notable too, because I read this one article, which I also pirated, but listen, I read this one article.
Education should be accessible for everyone.
I read this one article about how like a lot of indie films in like the global south, like indie filmmakers, directors, like just artists in general, when in relation to film, a lot of them were only really able to access media through piracy. Yep. And it's notable how in the global south there is almost always entire pirate markets. Like just out in the public. Like people know about this. Even though it's illegal, people still have it, and it is still like an open secret that you can access these places, and you can just go and walk up and like buy a pirated movie for like like dirt cheap. So like artistic influence like begets like the legality of things, which kind of is like a point that is made within the film itself, which is really fun. So I understand why a lot of like global south artists and like even in the global north, it's very popular because it really just like transcends that boundary that has been set.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think I'm gonna say this on mic. Like I wouldn't love the films. I wouldn't be into films and TV without piracy. Like especially back in 2010 or so, the only way you could get TV shows was in a like pack of like 50 that you had to buy from these locations. Sometimes the DVDs you would get weren't even complete seasons, and they would always have like Chinese subtitles.
Yeah, they're burned into
into the video.
But like, yeah, it's this was before like piracy was a lot more accessible to the like the general population of the internet.
No, what shocked me recently is I saw the tweet from Kristen Shaw talking about how she was looking for a way to show her kids Mysterious Benedict Society, but there's no DVDs, like official DVDs. Someone had to help her pirate it. And I was like, I forgot that's not like a common thing in the US because they're so used to like official DVD, official Blu-ray releases that they can get access to for cheap at like a Target or a Walmart or a Best Buy or something. When they get here, I remember when I was young, I wanted the official Supernatural DVDs because they had all like the bloopers, the behind the scenes, the commentaries. I wanted all that because I'm a nerd, and I saved up maybe 2 weeks of allowance to buy a single DVD of one season, and I bought until season 7, and that was not cheap. Like, I remember in the places we used to go to, there was like I forgot what, I think it might have been Astrovision is the name of the DVD CD store here before it closed down. But whenever I had like extra money, I would always buy official CDs. But those were like, even back then, those like were like 500 to 600 pesos. I can't imagine what it would be like now. Vinyls alone are like 5K. I'd assume a CD is about like 800 to 1,000 depending on the artist at this point. Unless, of course, you go to the piracy locations that we will not divulge.
We can't talk about that.
We can't talk about it, but they do exist. Yeah, I think a lot of it is, a lot of these artists in the global south would probably not be creating art if it weren't for piracy. Which is why, even when people talk about book piracy, I get so pissed because people are like, oh, just go to a library.
What library?
What updated library? For listeners who don't know, our libraries in this country are mostly educational. They're not necessarily updated. There are some
even
really good ones.
That's a little dodgy.
Yeah, there are some good ones, but they aren't like either that or the waiting list is so long. There's not a lot of copies of a certain book. Like it's not like
it's
libraries
not very
in the
accessible
States.
to most people too.
Yeah, no.
Like libraries
really
aren't
not
a place for poor people. They're a place for, people who can park.
Who can drive and park.
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy the way I think about how, like, people should talk more about that, honestly, because I think it's crazy the way people in the global north view piracy versus in the global south, where, without piracy, we probably would not have access to a lot of the indie films. What I noticed this weekend, Wes Anderson is technically a big filmmaker. Asteroid City is not screening anywhere. And that's technically a bit... he has a new movie coming out called Asteroid City. But it's not showing anywhere. What was screening was The Flash, Across the Spider-Verse, Little Mermaid, Elemental, and No Hard Feelings. No Asteroid City, none of the, like, smaller indie comedies or like indie movies. So even when I was young and I wanted to see like my favorite, like I would go through my favorite filmography, and they would have movies that would never in a million years come to this country. There would be no budget to send this to the country, but I could go to these so-called pirate places and get a copy and watch it. There are some movies that I would never have seen without piracy. In fact, I'm gonna be honest, I think the first time I watched The Matrix, it was on my dad's computer, and it was probably pirated.
No, yeah, like the thing with piracy, and that you can literally like connect to the first Matrix movie, is that the only way you can access avenues for, I don't know, what do you want, like freedom of expression or more information about something that you are interested in, or to connect with people like you have to have someone introduce you to the scene itself.
Yes, definitely.
Which is why, like, I kind of sort of understand why it's been taken on by Redditors, like these terminologies, but like at the same time, there is a very like distinct through line within the film of community and just general, I don't know, like for the peopleness
Yes.
Like anti-establishment ideas.
And even the way that they receive data and like how the knowledge is available if you want to take it. It's put into their brain. Like Neo knows Kung Fu, they all know how to do this because they share the knowledge. It's not like gate kept in the community.
Right. They don't share it for prestige within the community.
Yes.
They just share it because like that's information you want to share with others.
It's also because they understand that you as a human, you have the right to this knowledge because everyone should have this knowledge.
Yeah,
Not,
if
like,
you can
select.
have it, then some other people should. Like,
yes.
It's not supposed to be just like stuff that you can own and hoard. This is not property.
Yes.
Like that's what's always been weird to me with the idea of like intellectual property, which I understand the idea of like I came up with this idea first, like I invented this.
Mm-hmm.
But like inherently the idea of patents when it comes to like the scientific community is just legitimately harmful to people who can't have access to that. Like that's been with the issue of medicine within the past few years of pandemic, where people who patented and like copyrighted all this bullshit around like cures for the COVID.
How long did it take for the Philippines to get vaccines? I think we waited a couple extra months for it to be available in the country,
and it was
available to everyone.
It was literally
line.
a debt. We borrowed from another country, and we still have to pay it back. We're on loan for all of that medicine.
What else is new? I think the reason that The Matrix has like especially the first movie has like stayed so in the public consciousness is really down to what the Wachowskis were somehow able to do about like bringing all these, I guess, ideas that have been in the back of people's minds or like out of the corner of their eye into one movie. Like, it's crazy that I watched the Barbie trailer and when Kate McKinnon's Barbie holds up a high heel and a Birkenstock, I'm like, oh, it's a Matrix reference. It's a Matrix reference. That is crazy. Like, I cannot imagine like making a piece of media that is that iconic that you take the shot when other people do it.
Right, like the Akira slide or
like the Akira slide too. It's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen like a modern movie now that would have the same kind of effect on society and like conversations about technology, about virtual reality, about AI. That factor that you can go and point at The Matrix and go like, ooh, that's something that they had.
I feel like in that era of like creativity, like a lot of people have mythologized the nostalgia around 90s to early 2000s films and media in general, because there are like video games as well that to this day have been like absorbed into like a certain genre that you still feel like echoes of it throughout, right? Our era currently is very obsessed with trying to make something like that. You know how you know how like Miles Braun is just like, I want my name uttered under the same breath as the Mona Lisa.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. That's what people are trying to keep doing, is they want their property to be uttered under the same breath as this kind of thing, instead of just like being itself.
What's really funny? Bringing it back to The Matrix, the fact that The Matrix itself is set in the 90s, that's what the computer set itself into, like the false world that The Matrix is. It's in the tail end of the 20th century, I think is what Morpheus says. It's already trying to be what it was in the past.
Yeah.
And now, in the present, we look at The Matrix and we're like trying to make sci-fi movies like The Matrix,
right.
which is it's so there's so many layers about it.
You can make something completely original while still reflecting those ideals within a certain kind of film. It's called being inspired by.
I think one of the reasons why these movies were so popular is because while they did have inspiration, like Matrix takes inspiration from anime, from kung fu movies, it still had its own ideas about the present time. Like
it wasn't trying to be something else.
What the future was gonna be like.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's why, sci-fi films of the 90s and early 2000s, we look at them and we go, oh, they're so clever, they're so, like, original, but I'm like, but what are we doing, like, in in terms of thinking about where sci-fi could be going in the future.
Yeah.
This is why I love, there's a trend in fiction right now, in books at least, like solar punk is interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to see what solar
punk is. I don't remember if it was like a Pixar or Disney film, but it's like a recent, it's called Strange World or something.
Oh yes, yeah. I haven't seen it, but that one's on my list. Like, I wish that had gotten a wide release in theaters.
It's because
I would have been interested in.
It's because one of the characters is gay,
and also streaming. Disney sends projects out to die at this point.
Yeah.
Whenever they put it on streaming.
Oh, direct to stream, like Disenchanted. We still got caught, like, we still caught, like, wind of it. We still pirated it. Like, fuck off.
But, like, putting that on stream won't help it.
Yeah.
It's more likely... Well, it'll help with accessibility in general, but it won't help you, the big corporation.
Yeah, it's the direct-to-DVD
all of media in the world.
version of...
Yes, literally! The sequels of the movies that were direct to DVD. Oh my god.
The kind of films that The Matrix were that are still like cultural zeitgeists, I guess. There's a very distinct difference between like films or like kinds of media that are trying to say something, trying not to tread where someone else has tread before. And then there's media that has been advertised to death. And that is the only reason why it's still popular.
Yes. Like, sorry to Harry Potter fans, but without, like, the constant rollout of merch and, like, whatever, video games...
Yeah.
I don't or like...
It would literally have no staying
raging
power.
Turf. Yeah. If it wasn't for childhood nostalgia, honestly.
Yeah. I think, okay, that's the one thing I'm saying this now. The Spider-Verse series, that's one of the films of this, like, era that will stay on until the end, in memoriam.
I definitely see that.
Because it's, like, I've seen a lot of, like, think pieces on it. I'm gonna try to, like, be spoiler-free. There's a very good reason why it's so popular, and also why, like, not a lot of comic book fans are mad about it, unless they're like racist. Because a lot of Miles Morales' story, inadvertently, because it was like he was created in like 2016, it was really hard to avoid the constant like comparisons between him and Peter Parker. And the way they did the Spider-Verse movies, as they currently have been, like, rolling out, a lot of the films are about how there is a very good reason why Miles is the Spider-Man of his universe. Yes. And why he deserves that title, and why he is a good Spider-Man. Because anybody can be Spider-Man. That is the point.
Anybody can be Spider-Man.
Anyone can wear the mask. That's the whole point of the films. They're not afraid to tread on, like, completely, like, original grounds. Even though that's something of, like, a point of contention with fans of, like, an adaptation. Because they're still very true to the character.
Respectful.
Yeah, they're very
very respectful
to the source material, essentially. So it's okay that you're maintaining, like, you know, the like you're just like adapting something into a different medium, as long as you're still telling like a very novel story, then that's fine.
I mean, in the sense, like, what Neil Patrick Harris's analyst says in Resurrections, we're still telling the same stories we've always told, just with different names, different faces, different, like, twists on it. But essentially, we have seen these stories before, but there are people who are able to break out of the confines of what you would normally think of this story. And that's when you get something special.
Right.
And that's when you get something worth looking at.
You know those Shakespeare to modern era kind of, like, adaptations?
Yes!
Yeah. Like, those were good. Like, those...
I love those.
Those have, like, staying power. And you watch them, they're fun. They're a little dated, but, like, that's, you know, that's the...
No, and what's great about it is if you have, like, a really good adaptation, it makes people want to go back to the source material.
Right.
And it brings more and fresh eyes on this old source material, which could then lead to more art being born of this.
Right.
In, like, different ways. And I always think that's so interesting. And I kind of am sad that we don't get those Shakespeare adaptations anymore, because I really did like them, and I always thought they were like a really accessible way for like younger audiences to get into Shakespeare.
I mean, there was the recent like...
Oh, are you talking about Rosalind?
No, I was trying to talk about like that one recent... Oh, it's Emma.
Oh yeah,
yeah, the recent
Heck
like
yeah.
Jane Austen adaptation that was very,
That one
very
was
good.
also really good. That was very good.
I'm not against adaptations. I am just against them when I can very much tell that there was no love for the source material at all.
Percy Jackson. I mean, what?
The Haunting of
there
Hill
was
House.
there was a cough in my throat. Sorry about
The
that.
Haunting of Hill House.
See, and this is why I will die on the hill that Bly Manor is better than Hill House. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, no, I was gonna talk about like Hill House.
Yeah.
Because, like, my whole point within the Hill House video that I made was that it's a good show. It's
not.
It's just
it's
not
not
The Haunting of Hill House.
It's not The Haunting of Hill
It's
House.
literally just,
Yeah.
like, a completely original story with names
Exactly.
borrowed from The Haunting of Hill
Exactly.
House. Which is fine. It's just as long as you can't just claim that you are adapting The Haunting of Hill House when you are
Yeah.
very basically not doing that. You can make an original
Again,
story. I'm not against it.
It's like the Lightning Thief.
On
Like
God.
the first Lightning Thief movie. On God. Like it's a good fantasy movie. It's a good like modern fantasy movie. It's not Percy Jackson.
Yeah. You can make an original story. I am not against it. I love original stories. I love when they're just done so well that you will be just like, oh, it's good. Like Mad Max Fury Road. like there are a bunch of films.
Polite Society.
Yeah, there are
Polite
just
Society.
a bunch of films that you can name. Like a bunch of series that you can name. Just stories that you know are original. Aren't very like novel per se, but they are telling a very good story that is new. That is not just like
Yes.
borrowed from someone else. You can also make stories where you can very obviously see what they are referencing, like Matrix, where they are constantly talking about Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, I was also going to talk about that, where essentially Neo's journey into the Matrix is very clearly Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, and it's good.
It's very, and it's great because it makes sense. He literally goes through a looking glass.
Right.
And it's not that it's, like, it gets tired, but there's such a spin on it that it's not necessarily Alice in Wonderland as you know it, but it has those hints that make you go, oh, I think I know how the story is gonna go, so I'm gonna watch it.
Right.
And then it surprises you.
Yeah, because it's
And
not
says, "No,
following it.
But it has those hints, because I think nowadays we have so much media, so much film, so much TV,
It's an
so many books.
oversaturation of media.
There is no way that a work is not inspired by something else.
Yeah. Cozier's new album is about Dante's Inferno. Literally
Dante's
nothing
Inferno.
new under the sun anymore.
But there's always ways to make it fresh. And I think I've been frustrated with, like, seeing, like, I guess, discourse about The Flash and people being like, why don't people like it? I'm like, well, it's because they've seen it before.
Yeah.
And they've seen it done better.
Yeah.
And that was on a CW show. Like, ooh.
Get
Can
burned!
you imagine getting burned by a CW show?
Oh god, we could have just had Grant Gustin instead.
And it's also why I feel like a lot of people have Marvel fatigue right now. Because these studios are like, we know what works, so we're just gonna keep doing it. Even if you get all these great auteurs, like say, Sam Raimi for Doctor Strange, if you don't let them break out of your story confines, you will not get anything memorable or worth watching, or something that will stick in the public consciousness.
That's what I've been saying, regarding, like, trying to look for, like, authentic representation within corporate media is just a bad idea. Because, by and by, like, when you go into a piece of media trying to look for representation of yourself, which is, it's barely a minority, you're not even, like, a tick box on a certificate or anything. When you're trying to look for representation of yourself in corporate media, it's not going to ring true. It's never going to be you.
It's never gonna be fully you.
Yeah, it's not gonna be authentic to your experience or to anyone's experience in general, unless that's what corporate is trying to do. It's like...
Unless that's what corporate somehow managed to overlook.
Yeah. It's what happened with, like, how people did not like Raya when it came out.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Because first of all, the casting was just shit. Secondly, it was just a Western story with Southeast Asian aesthetics.
Yes.
And it was not even good. And, like, how currently people are trying to fight for their lives in the Disney tags about Elemental, even because they're saying that it's like an Asian American thing, but like there are better Asian American media out there made by Asian American people where they are represented by themselves.
What's funny about this argument when it comes to Disney does have that, and it's turning red.
Yeah,
there is that Asian American experience, but what I also find frustrating about Elemental is it already is derivative because Zootopia did it
literally
already.
Yeah.
But like not to like diminish the author's experience, but I think there could have been a better way of interpreting it that made it feel less like, oh, it's Zootopia but with elements.
Yeah.
And I think that's also what Disney's problem is right now, like, or Pixar in general. Like, people don't want the same stories over and over. Like, I know that the formula works, but when you have years and years and years of formula, eventually people are just gonna stop eating the cake.
Yeah. It's why Maleficent was so successful.
Yes.
And the Alice in Wonderland live action.
I mean, yes, I will admit Alice in Wonderland was also successful. Cinderella, too.
2015.
Because even though it followed, I will jump, that's one of my favorite live-action Disneys. Just, like, because it actually gave them, like, a rich story.
Yeah.
Without, like, I don't know, like, quote-unquote, breaking the canon of Cinderella, but it still, like, gave them something fresh and new with Kit
because
and Ella.
It's the thing with, like...
That's why Beauty and the Beast sucked!
Yeah, it's because, like, fairy tales, and this is something that Disney should probably know, but since they don't, like, you know, like, the themes is for third graders or something the fuck, like, it, just because they don't, like, see much in the realm of writing and storytelling, they kind of just, like, push to the side the idea that there should be more than just the recognizable, like, fairy tale characters.
Yes, exactly.
The fresh thing about those first 3 live action films was that they gave them characters, which, like, the original fairy tales did not. Fairy tales, in essence, you know, like Alice in Wonderland and, like, Greek mythology and everything, they're all archetypical. So if you add character to those, and then, like, you don't even have to do world building, you just have to, like, make the characters and somehow build a world that makes sense around them. That's literally all you have to do. That's the best formula you can give. But if you try to just retread what you've already done, then it literally will flop. It's not because diversity is bad. It's not because audiences don't like adaptations. It's because the writing is shit. And I feel like people just don't understand that.
It's the same way that people felt about... Because I remember my dad was so excited when Matrix Resurrections came out. And Matrix Resurrections is the reason I went down this whole Keanu spiral. But I remember when I was looking for, like, reviews or, like, people talking about it, people were so negative about it.
Right.
And that was mostly because apparently it wasn't like the other 3 films. It wasn't like their expectations. And I'm like, but the film... I was so frustrated because I'm like, but the film is quite literally about that.
Yeah.
It's about growing beyond the story.
Yeah.
It's the pitch meeting. Like, there was a part of the population who wanted the Matrix to be like that pitch meeting. Like, what do you think of when we think of the Matrix? It's bullet time. It's, you know, PVC. It's all that.
It's also, you know, how Nope was about, like, spectacle.
Yes.
And how much people put into spectacle to the point of, like, dehumanizing others.
Yes.
Yeah. It's exactly that concept, again, where people really, really like action and aesthetic and, like, completely push aside storytelling just for the sake of spectacle. Because it looks great, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
But what the fuck is it? I don't care if it looks great or amazing if I don't understand what you're trying to tell me.
What the fuck does it mean?
Yeah. Like, I watched very recently, like, a little, like, 16-minute short film by Don Hertzfeldt called World of Tomorrow. And it's basically... It's animated stick figures. And it's good. It's 16 minutes long and it's good. Like, I don't care if it looks like shit. If I understand what it's trying to tell me and it delivers that perfectly well, then that's good. That's fine. Like, from what I've seen of, like, the this is, with context, guys, Gab only made me watch Matrix and Matrix Resurrections. Because the series is, like, 4 movies long. So, we didn't have the time for that.
I didn't want to put SJ through Reloaded and, like, no offense, I love Reloaded, I love Revolutions. They are very long movies.
I would have roasted it, I'm not gonna lie.
No, I know, and I, personally, when I feel like there's a lot more to dissect in Resurrections and its relationship to the first movie. Like, for me, Reloaded and Revolutions feels like world building, which I can explain to SJ.
Yeah.
SJ doesn't need to, like, watch the movie. I can explain it, because I have seen these movies many times. But, like, the story gets a bit lost, I will say that, in the glamour of The Matrix.
Oh, it's like, that's why they hired him. That's why they hired a new Morpheus. Then the exact actor was Yahya Abdul-Mateen. I've just realized that. Because
connected the dots.
Candyman did the exact same thing.
There's something so interesting about the actor choices in Matrix Resurrections that I haven't seen discussion in. Like the fact that Lana Wachowski chose Jonathan Groff and Neil Patrick Harris to play the major antagonists. And if we're looking at The Matrix in the context of it being a queer movie, it's very interesting that these roles were played by white, cis gay men actors. It's so interesting. And what's also drives me nuts that I don't see that many people talk about is whenever people talk about Neo's journey, what he gets likened to is Alice in Wonderland. It's all these female protagonists. And then what happens in Resurrections? The transfer of Neo's important flying power shifts over to Trinity. And I don't think that's a coincidence at all. Like, whenever people are like, ooh, it's just feminism, I'm like, inner peace. I deflect stupidity. I do not welcome
we need
it.
to do a Kung Fu Panda.
Yes! I love Kung Fu Panda so much. Oh my god. But, like, there's no... I think people always say death of the author, but when a story is a heartfelt or, like, intrinsically tied to a writer's journey, I don't think
it's hard
that
to do
you can do that. It's the same way that you can't say death of the author with J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. Because, intrinsically, when you utter that name, the property that they made, you will think of the person who made it as well.
And also, those, like it or not, whether or not you admit it to yourself, whenever you make art, your beliefs, your views, it seeps into your art.
Yeah.
And you cannot untie Harry Potter with its anti-Semitic, transphobic
racist
ties. There is a very loud motorcycle going by my
Trinity,
house.
Please. We need to talk about you. Please, let us
Trinity, please.
Oh, God.
Yes. And people were talking about Resurrections and going, why did they make this? Why did the studio force them to do this? And they literally put it in the movie.
Yeah, because
it's in the movie. Like, our parent company, Warner Brothers, you know, they think it's gonna be profitable. Yeah. And that's probably the truth.
It is.
And I know I have listened to episodes where apparently Warner Brothers, for years and years, went to the Wachowski sisters and were like, will you do another Matrix? Will you do another Matrix? Will you do another Matrix? And it was always, no, we want to do something else. Which, understandable, like, considering Wachowski's, after Matrix, they did Speed Racer, they did, I think, did Cloud Atlas come before Jupiter Ascending?
Yes,
it must have. Cloud Atlas, Jupiter Ascending, and then they did Sense8.
Yeah.
And also, the writer for the book that Cloud Atlas is based on helped co-write Matrix Resurrections, David Mitchell. When it comes to Matrix Resurrections, there's like this thing where people like, oh, so why did the machines bring Neo and Trinity back? And in Resurrections, there's so much like conversation about nostalgia, about bringing back the past, and it's about like these corporate machines wanting to bring them back for selfish reasons. What I think is interesting is how the movie came about is for Lana Wachowski, it came from a place of grief. And like a very honest grief that wasn't necessarily corporate grief. Because Lana and Lily Wachowski could have very easily chosen to make another Matrix movie, took the cash,
And just left.
fucked off,
Yeah.
and just left. But the fact is that no, Lana Wachowski was motivated to make the story after this very human thing happened to her, which is that loss of her parents and a close friend. And she said she found comfort in having Neo and Trinity back. And against all odds, what she makes is a story about finding comfort despite the fact that you are living in a society that seeks to control you.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it ties back to the first movie. And whenever people dunk on the Matrix Resurrections, I'm like, oh, you don't have media literacy.
That sounds elitist, guys, but it's not. I swear it's not. It
No, but,
literally is
like,
just a basic reading of the
it's
films.
and honestly, it's really frustrating because I know, like, they didn't have the original fight choreographer and all that, but I'm like, the whole point of the Matrix Resurrections is Neo doesn't want to be who he was anymore.
Yeah.
He is something new.
You transition though.
It's the same. It's the same way. Like if I know because this is technically my thesis thing. Like if you try to go back to who you were in high school, you would not want to be that person anymore.
Absolutely.
Like if you would not want to be that person, and the fact that in Matrix Resurrections, everyone is expecting Neo to be that person. In the same way that in the first movie, everyone's expecting Neo to be the one.
Yeah.
But Neo finds purpose, and because Morpheus is like, he has to find it himself. And that's all spiralized his journey, that's not a word, journey and resurrections, where he finds a different way to fight. And he's not fighting for himself, because he knows who he is.
He literally, every single time Trinity's life is, like, in peril, he immediately
He's
just
like, "My
explodes.
wife." No, it's like, it's so funny, because they're like, fight for you, and he was like, nah, bro.
Nah.
And they're like, okay, but Trinity?
Trinity's in trouble! Invented
I
wife
love
guy,
a man who
right?
loves his wife. But yeah, I think there's something so, like, interesting about that fact, and it really frustrates me when people are like, Resurrections wasn't like the other Matrix movies, and that's why it's bad. I'm like, okay.
Oh, so you just want to
Did you
rewatch
Did
The
you
Matrix.
care? Yeah, exactly. That's another thing about, like, all these adaptations and, like, criticism about, like, for example, Halle Berry being the Little Mermaid. Like,
Yeah.
the old movies have not gone away.
Yeah.
They are right there.
Just watch
If
it
you
again.
want that, go watch that. People want to make other things, want to give their own story spin on it. And that's not bad. That just means maybe more people will get to enjoy the stories that you enjoy, because they'll come back and they'll watch old ones. Or maybe not. And that's fine, because that's how art works,
That does rub up against the very hard conversations around whether or not a sequel is needed, or if it should be acknowledged when it comes to the original canon of your film. Say your film ended, or your story ended, very close book, like all of the plot holes have been tied up. It's fine. It can stand alone as its own movie.
Yes.
And then you make a sequel that, in some cases, overthrows what you said in the first film. What's interesting with the case of The Matrix is that they made a sequel to the first movie
Yeah.
that is still kind of like, what's the word? It's loyal to the core of the first movie, but is trying to say something else that doesn't overthrow what the old movie was saying in the first place.
Yes. I think as a horror movie, it really is such an interesting dissection. Actually, the last three movies are an interesting dissection of the world we see in the first movie, because Reloaded and Revolutions also break down the world of the Matrix, like the idea. Like, Neo in Reloaded finds out that, he's not the first one. Like, they reset him, they reboot him, and every time he is in this room, he makes this choice about whether or not to save Zion. And it's happened before, and it keeps happening, and there's, like, this whole breakdown. Revolutions is quite literally almost just like a very futuristic war movie if I remember correctly, people really didn't like Reloaded and Revolutions when it came out because they wanted to be in the shiny Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to go back to the gritty world. They didn't want to break down the gritty world. And I think that's also what Resurrections is commenting on with Neil Patrick Harris's analyst.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like they're happy to be in this world.
Yeah.
They're happier than pigs and shit, I think is what he says. And I think it's so interesting to watch all four as like one whole like story. So I doubt they'll go back to it, and they don't need to, unless like Lana has like a story she wants to tell. I think it's so like fascinating when you look up at why people don't like Reloaded or they don't like Resurrections, and it's because it's breaking down and pointing at the world and going, oh, but actually, isn't reality much better? Isn't like the human connection much better than whatever this is that this computer has generated for you?
It's very odd that audiences didn't pick up on it. It's exactly like the what happened to the Hunger Games series.
Oh my god, I remember being 12 and there were so many ads for Capital themed nail polish. I'm like, but guys,
you're missing the point. Oh god, literally the first Matrix movie ends on them succeeding by leaving the Matrix, and you get mad when they stay out of it. What is what? Oh,
it's crazy. It's wild.
They want bullet time. They want PVC. They want bullet
time. They want shiny. They want leather, and I think it's so like. I really like how they portray like the real world versus the world of the Matrix. Because everyone in the Matrix is shiny. It's like it's PVC. It's like everyone looks so cool and so slick. Bugs has blue hair, and you get to the real world, and they're still like that.
Yeah.
They just don't have all the extra bits.
Yeah.
But they're still the same people who are in this story.
Yeah.
So just because they don't look cool, you're not gonna watch the story? That's lame. You're lame.
I think that's why books and anime like Ready Player One and Sword Art Online got so popular, and isekai in general got very, very popular, because the escapism involved in being transported to that very odd and different world, that foreign environment, and being the one. You know, being
the one.
Literally, everyone, like, OP.
A lot of people want to be special.
Yeah.
Rip to them, I'm different. I don't want to. You can take your chosen one bullshit and go. I would rather be a funny sidekick. That's
the one thing that I don't understand with audiences expecting something completely different from what they are being given, is that those things are available to you. Just leave. Literally, just watch something else. It's not that hard.
It's also just like the culture of. It's also populated because of freaking Marvel and everything, like where people are expecting something to be exactly like the source material, and they don't have like a sense of wanting to be surprised, or like they get mad when something gets changed. Like a very hardcore comic fans get mad when something gets changed. Like if it gets changed for like a bad reason, sure. Like Wanda not being Romani, very valid reason to get mad.
Yeah.
But like when it's
Wanda being Catholic, oh
god, Peter Parker not being Jewish,
exactly,
apparently. And so
oh my god,
it's in. And we go, it's in, but okay. But anyway, like it's. I feel like there's such a sense of, because everyone is so online right now. It's so hard to even go see a movie without seeing spoilers, unless you literally unplug. You unplug. You don't look at social media. That's the only way you get to be surprised.
The story of the Matrix is log the fuck out. Touch some grass.
Touch some grass. Not that grass exists. They have strawberries now.
Read a book.
Read a book. You know, just like allow yourself to be surprised.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like
be open to new ideas.
I am so excited for Barbie. Yeah. For that reason, I'm excited. I think I have an idea, but I am just waiting for my mind to be blown, or like to have a good time in the theater. Like I don't need it to be completely blown, but like I would love to have a good time and be surprised by the directions they go with Barbie. Yeah. And also stop putting every single plot point in your movie trailers. Oh my gosh. Come on, leave some surprises. Like I'm very excited for the Rachel Sernott Bottoms movie, because I know it's about a fight club. I don't know what the fuck
that's
happens
another one.
besides that.
That's in the era of Matrix that everyone is still kind of obsessed with.
Fight Club.
Yeah, Fight Club.
Fight Club, yeah. Fight Club is also...
I love how gay the legacy films are.
Fight Club, Top Gun,
Matrix.
Matrix. No, it's so funny, because I know I'm reading right now, like, a book called Hi, Honey, I'm Homo, which is talking about queerness in sitcoms.
American
and,
sitcoms?
like, the way... Yes, American
Okay.
sitcoms. And the way that, like, they would slip it in undiscussed, and then you look back at it and you go, oh!
That was gay.
Oh! That was gay! Oh my god, we haven't even talked about Neo and Trinity.
Oh my god, T for T love!
T for T love.
Nothing is stronger than T for T love! I was shouting that before we go there, I remember, because you mentioned Jonathan Groff earlier, and I started laughing.
Yes! Okay, there we go. There we go. Let SJ talk about Jonathan Groff for a bit.
Because I didn't know he was gonna be Agent Smith, right? I went into this completely blind. I didn't know that it was gonna be readapting or just commenting on the first film. So I saw Jonathan Groff and I was like, oh, I know this gay man. So I didn't know he was gonna be Agent Smith.
What was funny is that it kept going. You saw Jonathan Groff, you saw Yahya Abdul-Mateen, you were like, wait,
I know this man.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen. Wait, Jonathan Groff, Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes, literally, there's so many random gay men.
And then the cast of Sense8.
Yeah, there was the whole scene. And if people have not watched Matrix Resurrection, I'm so sorry. We've already spoiled so much, but we are just going to say this. The whole scene where there's like a giant fucking shootout within the studio. Keanu Reeves is like freaking the fuck out. He's like in a trip.
He's like a sad little man.
Yeah, he's just like flipping the fuck out.
Wet puppy.
And
he's like a wet puppy on the ground.
And Yahya Abdul-Mateen is just like rocking it as Morpheus
with the machine guns.
Yeah. And then Agent Smith walks in, Jonathan Groff, and he's just like, oh, I see what's going on. And then he just like, he drops the act and goes full into character, and I was like, oh, he's Agent Smith. Oh, they made him serve cut in this. And Gab started laughing so hard.
Because you went, oh, he's Agent Smith. Oh, they made him serve so much cunt in this movie.
They literally, like, the head roll, I was like, yo, was that necessary?
Then all his like appearances afterward, it's so, I think Jonathan Groff is so good in Resurrections. He's so fun.
I love when people just let gay actors be gay in films.
Yes.
Full on.
Yes. And there's like the whole Neo and Smith thing where he's kind of flirting with Neo and going,
okay, we get it.
You made me. We are two halves of a whole, and all of that. Bugs has a girlfriend and named Lexi, and they parallel Neo and Trinity, and it's like,
we get it. The conversations between Anderson and Tiffany at the start, where they're just like not like they're not clocking that they're in the Matrix, and then they start talking about like the game, the Matrix.
Yeah,
and I was just okay, we get it. You're married. In my head.
That's honestly, the coffee shop talks are one of my favorite parts of the movie because of how intimate and human they are.
Yeah,
like Tiffany or like as Trinity admitting like how do I know if I wanted a family or if that's just what was conditioned in me by society?
Oh my god, you were talking about this. Like, how there's a very, very just like humane and real reason why Trinity had such difficulty breaking out of her role, because the femininity is just a cloying, sticky thing. Where if society conditions you into it, you will not understand.
Yes, exactly. We were talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very hard to break from society-conditioned femininity.
It's so much, like, effort and conscious effort, and you have to really, really want it, because, when you, as someone in, like, a woman-looking body, like, if you leave that bubble of society-imposed femininity, you will be shunned.
Yeah.
There will be shunning that will happen. There will be, like, judgment and all that. And, like, it was so, like, clever. When he said it, I was like, yeah, exactly! It's so good!
It's literally, it's too hard to break out of that role. because, say, you come out as non-binary.
It's also, I just thought of something, SJ. It's about leaving behind cis heterosexual femininity.
Yeah.
Embracing her own kind of queer femininity.
Yeah.
That only queer people understand.
Yeah. And
It's like
it's
how,
so
like-
hard to maintain that, too. Because, like, sometimes you will come out and then you will question what your version of femininity is, if you're just, like,
Yes.
conforming to what already is there, or if this is
exactly.
you. Because it's, like...
It's so... Oh.
Like, I'm non-binary. I'm very openly, like, masked, very openly, like, abortion in the way I behave. And it's like, sometimes when I feel like wearing skirts, my mom will, like, be delighted. Or if I say, like, maybe I should grow my hair out, she want me to continue doing that. And it makes me so icky, because sometimes I will express interest in something that is inherently feminine, but I don't want it to be construed as, like, inherently societal feminine, like cis femininity. It feels weird. It feels wrong. But I want it to happen.
Yeah, or you don't necessarily want to experience it in the way that there are certain limits on it. Like it's so, it's something that I feel like only queer people understand. And it's in terms of like engaging with your gender and with your sexuality and with your presentation. It's an interesting like conversation,
right? And it's interesting that the Wachowski sisters very specifically like just put that in the film. And like, not a lot of people talk about it, but, like, trans people and cis women go through, like, a lot of very similar struggles when it comes to, like, the way society imposes femininity on you. The struggles that come with that are just... Everyone gets affected by it. It's all negative. But cis people get this in their head that, you know, genitals are a thing. Like, the whole gender essentialism thing is so harmful to the movement. It's so bad.
It's so wild that, you know, there are transphobic cis people who say, like, oh, you can only experience femininity in this one way, and then they claim to be feminists, and they exclude trans women who are going through the same struggles that they go through, even if it isn't necessarily their universal experience. But the fact that you are both women, you are going through women's struggles, why not help each other instead of tearing each other down and pointing and going, oh, you're not like me because of this? And it's so, like it's such, like, it makes my heart heavy whenever I think about how, like, some people really do call themselves feminists and then turn around and say trans women aren't women.
Yeah, I honestly would have loved
you can't
more
do
of that conversation within the film. Especially since, like,
interesting.
a lot of the film is focused on trying to save or trying to get Trinity out of there. But, like, they put a lot of focus on she has to be willing to leave.
She has.
If they had given her more, like, conversations with that ideal of, like, you know, do you really want to, like, leave the Matrix, or are you just, like, very uncomfortable with your current position in your role? If you want to adjust, just speak to your partner or speak to the people in your life. That's almost always what people tell you when you, like, try to come out as, you know, as trans. They're just gonna be like, are you sure? Because, like, people all women experience that. Yes, they do. Funny you say that. But also, you know, you can experience dysphoria while being cis. That is a very real experience.
Yes, you can. But as someone who was, or who thought she was cis, I thought it was normal. I didn't know that was something that I had to think more about in terms of my relationship with my gender or my sexuality.
Honestly.
It was like a light bulb moment. It's also thanks to fucking... You're gonna bleep this out. It's fucking, you know, redacted. That was such a, like, oh, I can do that?
I'm allowed
I can do that.
Yeah.
It's like it's the whole Matrix thing of, oh, I can explore this world?
Yeah.
I'm allowed to do that?
Yeah. I really would have loved if they gave her more of a conversation.
I definitely, I think Neil Patrick Harris also says talking about how, like, Neo and Trinity were quietly yearning for what they didn't have or what they wanted while fearing losing what they had currently.
Oh, it's
which
privilege.
I think is such, like, that, and also it's such like a queer narrative.
Yeah.
When you're like thinking about coming out to your parents, or coming out to your friends, like you want to be yourself. You're looking to be you.
Yeah.
And be honest. But like there's always a fear that, especially as people who live in like a very Catholic, religious country, of like you come out and you lose your friends. You come out, you have no home. That's like a universal experience for queer people when they decide they want to come out or they're looking to come out. It's always a fear. There's so many layers.
There's so many layers. Oh
There's
my God.
so many layers. It's like
Shrek.
an onion.
We're really in it now.
We're really in it now. And like even the idea about DSI, about like how Switch, I think, was supposed to be a woman in the real world and then a man in the Matrix, or the other way around, and that's why their name is Switch. But apparently Warner Brothers is like, at the Wachowskis, no, they're not gonna understand that.
No! Come on, man!
Yeah. Or like, the studios like, oh, they're not ready for that. Like, mainstream audiences aren't ready for that.
Oh, shut
I'm
the
like,
fuck up.
Whenever I hear that, I'm like, how are they gonna ever be ready for that if you don't take the first step and put it in your movie?
Yeah. The Matrix already pioneered, like, a lot of shit in film, to the point that it's still being...
We're still talking about
Yeah, there's still homages to it in, like, every film you watch. Putting something like that in a film would have just... It would have changed the world. I'm not gonna lie.
It really would.
Because, like, it's a very common, like... It's a very common theater thing, right? Where you have...
Yes, exactly. Like, it's also a Shakespearean thing.
You have gender-bend actors, basically. Where women play male roles and men play women roles. It's not that complicated. Like, it's saying that people won't understand so patronizing.
I am being texted about eating food, so I guess we gotta wrap this up, because I think we're also at, like, 1 hour and 18 minutes.
Yeah, we're at an hour mark. 1:44.
Oh my god. The Matrix has, like, a lot of interesting things to say.
We didn't even get to most of it.
No, we didn't. But, like, I think that's something that people should experience for themselves as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can talk about the entirety and the implications of both movies in one episode.
If Gab could,
and that's also why
make The Matrix her thesis film. So, you know.
Oh, if I could do an analysis,
yeah.
I would have. But I don't want to, like, tread on that, because there are other people who will talk about it.
Yeah.
And also, not to be that person, but when I was just talking about this podcast, I realized how much my thesis already has hints of the Matrix Resurrections in terms
you
of
just
not
realized.
wanting to go back to who you were before.
Yeah.
When we make media nowadays, or make art, because I hate the word making content. I don't think we should, like, make everything content. When you make art nowadays, if you really want to make something that becomes iconic, one, don't make it for the sake of it becoming iconic. Make it because it's a story you want to tell. It's a story that you feel like it needs to be told. And make it, like, sincere about ideas that we have now. Like, it's fine to look back in the past, as long as you don't get trapped there. Because that's how we get boring retreads.
Yeah. Literally, just, like, if you're gonna do something that is inspired by an old story, at least do something new. Like, at least one thing.
It's an old saw, but we sing it anyway.
Literally,
you know?
Hades. Oh my god, the Orpheus and Eurydice.
No!
We're not gonna talk about it.
Okay.
We're not gonna talk about it.
For listeners, whenever we were watching a movie and then SJ just into the mic went, oh my god, like Orpheus and Eurydice. I'm like, shut up! No more Orpheus! No more of my favorite ships that parallel Orpheus and Eurydice.
Still true, though. Tales old as time.
It very is true. Like, he literally goes to the quote-unquote underworld to petition, and it has to be, like, he has to trust that she will make her choice. And
Literally.
Like, literally. Oh my god. Anyway.
Was your second
yeah,
point?
Though.
Did you have a second
I
point?
had a second. I think... Yeah, no, that was about it.
Alright.
The Matrix is cool. I think people should watch it more and, like, reflect on the messages it tries to send rather than solely focusing on the iconic parts, because I think you get a lot out of it. Even, like, you get a lot out of it, and then you get those iconic action scenes, and I think that's fun, and I think that's why I love that.
Engage and immerse yourself in any piece of art, and you will find something meaningful to say about it.
Yeah.
That is
like,
basic.
listen, you can find, like, gems anywhere. Like, I talked for almost 2 hours about Mamma Mia, and I don't think there are a lot of people who look at Mamma Mia and go, there's a deep story there. But there is.
Yeah.
There is. Listen to our first episode. Anyway, I think that's all I should say about The Matrix, otherwise this will go on for 10 hours. This will go on for 10 hours. There's so much to discuss
way
about it.
a lot of this episode, Gab was talking so fast.
I was excited.
Yes.
I was really excited.
This is Gab unleashing the factoids.
I mean, wasn't it also like that with Bill and Ted? I just kept going and then just like without checking the Wikipedia.
Yeah, we kept like going on tangents, and it was still kind of related, and then we got into some really deep topics, as always. You know.
So yeah, I think that's what I have to say. What do you have to say about The Matrix, SJ, as we wrap this up?
If they make another one, make it cuntier. That's all I'll say. They deserve it.
Does backflips in stilettos.
Oh my goodness. I don't think he can do those anymore.
I know, no, wait. He is an old man. I don't want
Let him do drag at this point.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
I mean, we did sing Mob Psycho, but you're also like busy.
I'm literally in the midst of like a thesis class.
Yeah, you were midterming the other day. We were supposed to like record a day earlier.
I am still midterming technically.
Just need a Manzoor. We can do a Nida Manzoor episode.
Yes, okay, yeah, we'll do a Nida Manzoor episode. Anyway, you guys should watch Polite Society and We Are Lady Parts.
So true.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna leave you with, and that's what SJ's gonna leave you with.
Bye.
And goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, may lato-lato sa background.
Stop! Dang it.
What you just heard was a talk from the Secret Treehouse. Those were your hosts, SJ and Gab, and this was a production by The Playground. If you like that, please consider supporting us through the links found in the show notes. If you support us for as low as $6 in coffee, you can get the whole uncut version of this episode. And if you want your name at the end of the episode, like at this moment here, you can support us for $10. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope we get to hang out again.